Hello, grade 5 students. Mr. Waterman here with today's mathematics lesson on Monday, February 1st, 2021. I hope you all are doing safe and well and had a spectacular weekend. So it's a new month and we are going to go over our answers from last week's homework assignment. We learned to multiply with mixed numbers. Okay, so we learned to write the mixed number as an improper fraction before we multiplied. Then we also learned that you can use common factors to simplify, then multiply. Okay, or you can just multiply straight across, multiplying the numerators and then multiplying the denominators before finally getting to step 3 to simplify. Okay. As you can see, I have the answers in front of me, so I'm just going to go over them one by one with you. Okay, as you can see, I have simplified many of the fractions. Number 1, 9/10. Number 2, 17 over 32. Number 3, my answer was 19/15. I had to turn it in to a mixed number, so it is 1 4/15. Number 4, it is 2, because the answer was 20 over 10, and we can just go ahead and divide that. Okay? Number 5, the answer is 1 1/10. Okay? For number 6, the answer is 33 over 35. Number 7, the answer is 2 8/9. Number 8, the answer was 11 over 7, and turning it into a mixed number gave us 1 4/7. For number 9, the answer was 7/20. For number 10, the answer is 5/9. For number 11, the answer is 2 1/7. And for number 12, the answer is 3 1/7. For the last one, we had a word problem. Number 13. Kylie uses 1 1/2 cups of sugar for each batch of cookies she makes. How much sugar does she need to make 5 batches of cookies? Well, the first thing I do is I write 5 times 1 1/2. I need to change 1 1/2 into an improper fraction. So now I have 5 times 3 over 2. But now the 5 is by itself. So I have to rewrite it, making 5 the numerator and 1 as a denominator. So that gives me 5 over 1 times 3 over 2, which gives me 15 over 2. So I have to turn that into a mixed number. And now I have 7 1/2. So Kylie needs 7 1/2 cups of sugar. That's a lot of sugar and a lot of cookies. That sounds pretty good to me right about now. I don't know about you. Okay? Those are your answers for last week's homework. Now, let's get into today's lesson. So, I have a feeling that we will be continuing with online lessons for a bit. So, I'm going to try to give you kids a quiz at some point, and I think it's going to be just straight multiplication. So, I'm going a little bit out of order. We started with multiply whole numbers and decimals, and then I moved on to multiplying fractions. I want to do one more week of multiply decimals just so you guys get some good practice here, okay? And then if we are going to continue online, probably after today's lesson, there's a good chance that the next week is going to be a quiz, an online quiz, okay? All right. So in my table of contents, my topic for today is multiply decimals. Only decimals, because before I showed you how to multiply whole numbers and decimals. And I'm going to be working on page 13 of my notebook today. And I will once again write the title on the top. Multiply decimals. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with our objective, as we always do. So today's objective is find the product of two decimals. Okay? Find the product of two decimals. So let's look at an example. So let's say, I'm going to change this around from what's in the book because I like it. I'm going to say the parking lot at Costco, because many of you know Costco, covers 0.9 acres. Three-tenths of the parking lot is reserved for compact cars. That means only small cars can park there. Okay? How large is the area reserved for compact cars? Well, here's what we can do first. You can multiply 0.9 and 0.3 to solve the problem. Okay? Now, you can do something before you multiply, and we've talked about this in other classes before. So, before you multiply, you want to estimate. So an estimate is like a guess, right? Estimate to get a sense of where the decimal point belongs in your answer. Okay? So, 0.9, it's pretty much close to 1, right? We'll do that. That means about equal to. Okay? Now, if I multiply 1 times 0.3, that's going to give me 0.3. Okay? So, with my guesstimate, as I like to call it, the answer should be a little less than 0.3. So now for the next step, I can multiply. Multiply 0.9 times 0.3. That's going to give me n, the mystery number. So we don't know what the answer is yet. So I like steps. Everything to be done in steps carefully. That way you'll know if you're going to get the right answer or not. Step 1. Multiply. By multiply, I want you to ignore the decimal points. Okay, so we have 3 times 9. And that gives us 27, right? Just ignore the decimal points completely. Now, after step 1, there's always going to be a step 2. You know I like my steps. Step 2. Place the decimal point in the product. Okay, so that gives us 0.3 times 0.9. So we want to remember, we have 1 decimal place, and it looks like I'm going to need another page here pretty soon, but until then, I'll work with what I have here. 1 decimal place. And so that's going to give us, we're going to have a total of 2 decimal places in our answer. 2 decimal places. Okay? So I'm going to multiply just like I normally would. I'm going to go on ahead and bring my decimal point down first. Okay? So now you do 9 times 3. We know 9 times 3 is 27. You're going to carry the 2. 9 times 0 is 0, so you just bring your 2 down. Okay? And you bring your 0 down. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. You just bring your 0 down. 0.27 is your answer. Okay? I'm going to go to the next page, but if you want to take your own notes and copy this down, the best thing for you to do is to stop the video right here, to pause it, and then when you're finished with your notes, then you can go to the next page. I'm going to go to the next page now. Okay. So, what you want to do I'm going to put a star here. I'm going to say you can use fractions to check your answer. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, I turn my decimals into fractions. Okay? So, 3/10 times 9/10. You see how we go back into multiplying fractions again? Love it. Multiply the numerators. Multiply the denominators. Okay? 9 times 3 is 27. 10 times 10 is 100. That gives us 27 over 100. Or, if you change it into decimal, that's going to give you 0.27. So, bing bong, check, our answer is correct. So for my solution, which means answer, in the parking lot, .27 acres is reserved for compact cars. Okay? Now, let's look at a few other examples. Okay? If you have, I'm just going to write other examples here. Okay, A. You have a factor in the hundredths place. REDTHS. So let's say you have 0.71 times 0.9. Okay? 0.71, that's 2 decimal places. 0.9, that's 1 decimal place. Okay? So we know in our answer, we are going to have 3 decimal places. Okay? Now, first thing I'm going to do, this is what I do to make it just easier for me. I just bring down my decimal point, and I know I'm going to have 0 in my answer. Okay? Now I just multiply. 71 times 9. 9 times 1, 9. 9 times 7, 63. Okay? Everything else is going to be 0 into 0 into 0. And you bring it down. Okay? So that's one example. The next example we can look at, let's title this B. These will be factors greater or bigger than, greater than 1. Okay? So let's say I have 1.43 times 3.2. Okay, well, 1.43, that's 2 decimal places. 3.2, that's 1 decimal place. So again, our answer is going to have 3 decimal places. Okay? So let's multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Okay? Now, we're just going to put a 0 here because when we start to multiply the next numbers, we need to start writing our numbers here. Okay? So, we have 3 times 3, which is 9. 3 times 4, which is 12. And then you carry your 1, right? 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Now, because my answer is going to be in 3 decimal places, I'm going to put my decimal place here, and then I start to add. So 6 plus 0 is 6, 9 and 8 is 17, and you carry the 1. 2 and 2 is 4, and 1 is 5. And I bring down my 4. So my answer here is 4.576. Okay? Very straightforward. And there you have it. So now we have looked at 3 different examples. And now I will show you what your homework tonight will be. For your homework tonight, we're going to be on page 86. Okay? Multiply decimals. You have 14 questions. Okay? So the homework, they always remind you and show you an example. So the example they give you is to find 0.7 times 0.3. So today we learned that in step 1, you just multiply. Ignore the decimal points. In step 2, you place the decimal point in the product. 0.7, that's 1 decimal place. 0.3, that it's also 1 decimal place. So you know the decimal will be in 2 decimal places in your answer. Okay? Then you multiply 0.7 times 0.3. 7 times 3 is 21. So our answer is 0.21. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Okay? So work these out for numbers 1 to 9. When you get to numbers 10 through 13, you need to write greater than, that's bigger than, less than, or smaller than, okay, or equal. So you have to multiply each set, and then you write the symbol in the oval. Finally, for the word problem, it says, Jerome bought 1.4 pounds of string beans for 0.85 per pound. So that's 85 cents. That's how we would read that in American money. So anytime you see a dollar sign and then a 0, anything under 1, it's going to be cents. Okay? How much did he pay for string beans? Please show your work in this area and write your answer in a sentence on the line. So for example, he paid blank for string beans. Or Jerome paid blank for string beans. And that's it. There you have it. If you have any questions about the lesson, please feel free to email Mr. Waterman at any time. Pretty straightforward again. So remember, there's a good chance that you'll have a quiz next week over multiply whole numbers and decimals, multiplying decimals, multiplying fractions, and multiply with mixed numbers. A multiplication party of sorts, okay? And then after this, we're going to be done multiplying for a little bit because you're tired of it, and I think that I'm tired of it, and I think it's time for us to move on to something new, fresh, and exciting in mathematics class. So now, have fun with your work. It shouldn't take you too long to do, okay? Please continue to stay safe and well, and enjoy the rest of your day studying. Bye-bye now.